Okay, let's unpack this. We have done a lot of deep dives on this show. We've covered history, science, psychology, you name it. But today we are walking into something different, something significantly darker. We are looking at a book that, quite frankly, shouldn't exist.
It's such a disturbing artifact, really. If you were to walk into a used bookstore and find this on a dusty shelf, you might think you'd found a standard run-of-the-mill autobiography.
Yeah, totally.
It's called Metamorphosis of a Criminal. It's written by a man named Ed Edwards and published way back in 1972.
And if you just judge it by the cover, or even if you just read the foreword, you get this very specific vibe. It packages itself as a redemption story. You know the type.
Oh, absolutely.
I was a bad guy, I made mistakes, I found the light, and now here's my advice to the youth of America on how to stay out of trouble.
That is exactly how Edwards sets the stage. It's almost a performance. In the foreword, he explicitly states his goals. He claims he wants to warn young people about the pitfalls of life. He talks about the desperate need for prison reform. He even gets incredibly sentimental, writing about how children need to hear the words, "I love you."
I love you. He actually writes that. He positions himself as this benevolent, reformed figure. But then you turn the page. You start reading the actual stories he tells to inspire this change. And the mask drops so fast, it makes your head spin.
It's not a redemption story, not even close. It is a horror show.
Exactly. It's like picking up a book on gardening and realizing halfway through chapter 1 that it's actually a manual on how to build a bomb.
That's a great way to put it.
We are going to dive deep into this text today because it offers this rare, unfiltered window into the mind of a predator who truly believes he is the hero of his own story. So we aren't looking at this as a memoir of change. We are looking at this as a case study in manipulation.
And that is the operative word here, manipulation. I mean, if you read this strictly for the plot, you completely miss the point. The metamorphosis in the title isn't a change from evil to good.
Nope.
It is a change from a clumsy, impulsive criminal to a master manipulator. He evolves from someone who breaks things to someone who breaks people.
So to keep us on track, because this book it's a labyrinth of lies, we have a mission. We're going to look at this text through 3 specific lenses. First, we have to look at the con. We're going to trace how Edwards learns to manipulate reality, literally bending the truth until people, including his own wife, don't know which way is up.
Second, and this is the heaviest part of the discussion, we have to look at the violence, specifically the violence against women. It is a recurring, almost obsessive theme in this book. And what is truly terrifying is how he trivializes it.
Oh, completely.
He frames monstrous acts of brutality as if they are just minor misunderstandings or, necessary discipline.
And finally, the third angle, which I think is the creepiest part of the whole thing, the tease.
Yeah, this part is chilling.
This guy names names, he gives locations, he gives dates, he talks about stalking women he didn't kill. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why would you put that in a book? Is he confessing? Or is he taunting the reader with what he got away with?
It raises the fundamental question. Is the memoir itself the ultimate con? Is he hiding his worst crimes right out in the open, daring us to catch him?
Let's get into it. And tone setting here, I am still in disbelief at the sheer audacity of this guy. So let's go back to the beginning. Section 1, the origin of the mask.
He wasn't born Ed Edwards, right?
No, and his start in life was genuinely tragic, which is often where these profiles begin. He was born Charles Murray in Akron, Ohio, back in 1933. His mother, Lillian Myers, was a tragic figure herself.
What happened to her?
She was a thief, but a pretty minor one. The record shows she stole $100 once. But the real tragedy is that she ended up committing suicide when Edwards was just a baby. He was adopted and renamed Edward Wayne Edwards. And right off the bat, very early in the book, he mentions something that most people would try to bury. He talks about being on the FBI's 10 most wanted list later in his life.
Yes, and you have to pay attention to the tone he uses. He doesn't mention it with shame. He doesn't say, I reached a low point where the FBI was hunting me.
No, it's a boast.
It's a credential. It's a badge of honor. He wants the reader to know immediately that he was important enough to be hunted by the federal government. It establishes his ego right on page 1.
But before he was most wanted, he was just a kid, a 13-year-old kid in Akron. And there's this one story he tells, the first hit, I guess you'd call it. It involves a dry cleaning truck. This story gave me chills, not because of the fire itself, but because of what happened during the fire.
This is a pivotal moment in his psychological development. It's like a blueprint for his entire life.
Yeah.
So picture this. He's 13. He has a massive crush on a 26-year-old divorcee.
Which is already, a bit of a weird dynamic.
Of course. Now, obviously, this is a child projecting a fantasy onto an adult. But in Edwards' mind, this is a serious romance.
Yep.
He feels possessive.
Right. He thinks he has a shot. But there's a rival, a guy who drives a dry cleaning truck, visits her. And Edwards gets jealous. But this isn't normal kid jealousy where you, slash a tire or throw a rock.
No, this is something else entirely. He decides to get even in a way that is totally disproportionate to the perceived slight.
He decides to burn the truck down.
He decides to burn it down. He fills a Coke bottle with turpentine. He waits for nightfall. But here is the genius and the true psychopathy of the moment. A normal delinquent would just run out, throw it, and run away.
Right. Pure impulse.
Edwards doesn't do that. He sets the stage. His grandmother's upstairs, hanging wallpaper. Edwards realizes he needs a witness to his innocence. He needs an alibi.
He's 13 years old and he's already thinking about alibis. That's a different level of thought process.
Precisely. So he sets the bottle of turpentine on the back steps. Then he goes upstairs and has a nice, normal conversation with his grandmother. He establishes his presence. He creates a sense of normalcy.
He's chatting with Granny while the bomb is waiting on the porch.
That's exactly it. And then he tells her, I'm going downstairs to make a sandwich. He goes down, grabs the turpentine, runs to the neighbor's house, douses the truck, lights it on fire, and sprints back inside. And this is the detail that sticks with you. He makes the sandwich. He goes back to the kitchen, makes his snack, and starts eating it.
While the truck is exploding outside.
While the truck is turning into a fireball. Then, naturally, the sirens start. The neighborhood is waking up. And Edwards looks at his grandmother mid-sandwich and says, Granny, I hear sirens? I wonder if there's a fire around.
That is ice cold, just absolutely no emotion.
It demonstrates a terrifying ability to compartmentalize. He isn't shaking, he isn't panicking, he is acting. He even notes in the book that his grandmother later told a neighbor, I told Ed to go out and watch it, but he wouldn't leave the house without me. He just didn't seem too anxious.
Wow. So he used his own grandmother's trust as his shield. He manipulated her love for him to cover his violence.
And he learned a lesson that would define the rest of his life. You can commit a violent act, and as long as you maintain the appearance of being a nice, calm boy, no one will suspect you. Appearance trumps reality.
He actually writes, I was building an alibi. He knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't an accident.
No, it was calculated.
And the craziest part, he didn't stop there. He tried to burn the replacement truck 2 weeks later.
Which shows the obsessive nature of his personality. It's not just about the one rival, it's about control. The first fire didn't just remove the rival, it gave Edwards a sense of power. It resolved his emotional problem, jealousy with destruction.
So when the second truck arrived,
the problem returned. So he tried to light a match into the gas tank of the new truck. It didn't catch, and he gave up to avoid suspicion. But the pattern was set. Violence is the solution. Charm is the cover.
So, we have a 13-year-old arsonist who can lie to his grandmother's face without blinking. This leads us into his teenage years. He eventually ends up in reform school. And the chapter title for this is great. The School Had Walls.
Reform school is often called con college by criminologists for a reason. And Edwards is very open about this in the text. He says he gained an education of sorts.
An education of sorts, yeah, right.
He didn't learn math or history or civic duty. He learned about burglars' tools. He learned how to hotwire cars. He learned how to pick locks.
And he learned tactics. There's one he mentions, the false alarm. It seems simple, but it shows how his brain was working, how he saw the world.
Right. It's a resource manipulation tactic.
Yeah.
If you want to rob a place on the west side of town, you pull a fire alarm on the east side, you distract the police, you send them down a blind alley.
It's a game to him.
It implies that he is viewing the world as a chessboard. The police aren't authority figures to be feared. They are game pieces to be moved around.
So he comes out of reform school, and he wants to be, in his own words, Ed Edwards, master criminal. Yeah. But he also discovers a new tool, impersonation. This brings us to section 2, the chameleon. Edwards realizes that he doesn't just have to manipulate events like a fire or an alarm, he can manipulate identity.
This is where he becomes truly dangerous. The first big impersonation is the Marine. It's 1951. He is roughly 18 years old. He is physically too young to have served in World War II, but he steals a uniform.
And puts sergeant stripes on it.
He puts on the sergeant stripes, and suddenly the world treats him differently.
He talks about the free drinks, the dinners, the way people looked at him with admiration.
He thrives on the respect. He didn't earn it, but he felt entitled to it. And there's a scene where this falls apart, which is very revealing. A manager at a job catches him in the lie. The timeline just doesn't add up.
Right, the math puts him in elementary school during the Battle of the Bulge or something.
Exactly. So watch the theory. Most people, when caught in a stolen valor lie, would crumble. They'd run away in shame.
Oh, for sure.
Edwards just shifts the lie. He admits to the manager that he lied about the dates, but he claims the reason he lied is that he was actually dishonorably discharged for stealing a car, not for being a war hero.
So he confesses to a crime to cover up the fake identity. That's a wild move.
He gives the manager a confession that is actually just a smaller, more believable lie. He frames himself as a troubled kid who made a mistake, rather than a pathological liar wearing a costume. And it works.
It works.
The manager keeps him on because he thinks, okay, now the kid is being honest with me.
He relies on people's desire to forgive. He weaponizes empathy.
Exactly. And then he escalates. He goes from fake Marine to fake psychiatrist, Dr. Love.
This one is bizarre. He actually impersonates a doctor. How does that even work?
It's fascinating psychologically.
Yeah.
Edwards explicitly states he hates psychiatrists. He calls them head shrinkers. He thinks they're frauds, but he envies their authority, so he becomes one.
It's like that thing, if you can't beat him, join him, but in the most twisted way possible.
Right. He describes tearing down wanted posters in post offices to hide his identity and then walking around town pretending to be a doctor.
The juxtaposition is just mind-boggling.
It's the ultimate power trip. He's a fugitive, literally ripping his own face off the wall of the post office to erase his criminal record and then walking into a bar and analyzing people's problems. He says he enjoyed that he could impersonate them so easily.
Of course he did.
He thought everyone else was stupid for believing him. It validated his superiority complex.
But the biggest the one that spans years and involves the most manipulation, is the CIA agent. This is mind-blowing. He gets married to a woman named Marlene, and he convinces her that he is not a drifter and a thief, but an undercover operative for the Criminal Investigating Division.
The CID. He tells her, I have to deal with shady characters. I have to act like them. I have to live like them. But it's all a cover. I'm protected by the government.
It's brilliant in a twisted way. It explains everything. Why do we move all the time? The government. Why do I have cash but no job? Secret payroll.
Why am I out all night?
Undercover mission. It's a perfect shield.
It insulates him from her suspicion. And there's a specific incident involving a car crash that really illustrates the depth of this manipulation. He tells Marlene that he has to crash his car into a communist's car as part of a mission.
Honey, I need to go get in a car accident for America. It's absurd.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
In reality, he is committing insurance fraud. He's staging accidents to collect payouts.
Yeah.
But he wraps it in this patriotic narrative so his wife won't just tolerate it. She'll support it. She thinks he's a hero fighting pinkos and communists.
And Marlene believes him.
She does. And this is crucial. Edwards mocks her for it. In the book, he calls her unbelievably gullible and naive. He writes, and this is a quote, I found it hard to conceive that anyone could believe the lies I handed her.
So he despises her for trusting him.
He despises her for it. That is the tragedy of the sociopath, isn't it? The more you trust them, the less they respect you.
To him, trust is a weakness to be exploited. He doesn't see a partner, he sees a mark.
Exactly.
This brings us to the darkest part of the deep dive. We've talked about the con. Now we have to talk about the violence. Because in this book, Edwards portrays himself as a lover. He literally has a chapter called God's Gift to Females.
Which is a chilling title when you read the actual content. It implies that women should be grateful for his attention, no matter how abusive that attention becomes.
Yeah. We need to talk about Linda. She is a woman he was with for a time. She comes to him one day and says she was raped. 2 guys picked her up, drove her to a deserted street, and assaulted her.
And Edwards' reaction is textbook narcissism. A normal human response is empathy, horror, protection.
Right. Are you okay? What can I do?
Edwards doesn't comfort her. He doesn't call the police. He gets suspicious. He gets angry.
He writes, rape is a crime I never had any use for. Why? Not because it's evil, not because it's a violation, but because, and I'm quoting, there are too many women around who will go to bed with you for the asking.
Pause on the logic there. He views the rape not as a violation of Linda, but as an inefficiency. He thinks, why would anyone need to rape when women are so easy to get?
It trivializes the violence completely.
But worse, he views it as an insult to his own ego. His first thoughts are, why would she need to be raped when I am here? Or even, is she lying to me to make me jealous? It's all about him.
He ends up getting violent in the hospital, not protecting her, but raging at the doctors and orderlies because he can't control the situation. It was never about her safety.
It's all about him, always. The woman is just a prop in his movie.
And then there's Nancy. This is in Houston. This scene, I had to read it twice because it was so graphic. And frankly, it's hard to talk about, but we have to.
It is brutal, but it reveals his true nature, with the mask completely off. He describes hitting her in the stomach with every ounce of strength I had. He tears her clothes off. He knees her in the face. He describes the blood in vivid detail.
And the justification, why did he do this? What was the reason he gives?
Because she was disobedient. Because the house wasn't clean. He treats her like an employee or a servant who failed a task.
But there's a specific threat he makes during this beating that stuck with me. It's so vile. He tells her, I'm going to take you down to Skid Row, peddle you off for $5 a screw.
Peddle you off. He is threatening to sell her into prostitution as a punishment. He says, I think I could possibly get you screwed about 50 or 60 times between now and midnight.
That is monstrosity masquerading as discipline. He frames it like a lover's quarrel, like, oh, I lost my temper. No, you tortured her and threatened to traffic her.
It shows that he views women as commodities. They have a value, sexual value, domestic value, and if they fail in one area, he will cash them out in another. It's purely transactional and devoid of humanity.
And this connects back to Marlene, the wife, the one he conned with the CIA story. There is a moment where the con starts to slip.
Yes.
He finds a letter in her pocket. It's a draft of a letter to another man, where she expresses doubt about Edwards. She writes something like, I'm inclining to believe that he really doesn't work for the government at all.
She's starting to wake up. She is seeing the cracks in the facade.
And he brutally suppresses that awakening. He beats her, he knocks her down, kicks her, and then he says something truly grotesque. He threatens to cut her tits off and flush them down the toilet.
That imagery is so specific and so horrific. It targets her womanhood. It's a threat of mutilation designed to terrorize her into submission. But watch what happens immediately after the violence. This is the most dangerous moment.
He flips the switch.
The calm manipulator returns. He talks sensibly to her. He convinces her that she is the one who messed up. He tells her that by writing that letter, she jeopardized his cover and national security. He says, you almost got me killed.
And she apologizes to him.
She weeps. She is immediately contrite. She apologizes to the man who just beat her and threatened to mutilate her.
That is the cycle of abuse perfectly captured in his own words. He breaks them physically, then uses the con, the CIA story, to reshackle them psychologically. He makes the victim feel like the perpetrator.
It's a masterclass in psychological torture.
It's terrifying. And it brings us to the third angle of our deep dive, the T's. You mentioned this earlier. The book is full of names. Linda, Nancy, Anna, Barbara, Peggy, Betty, Marlene. He lists locations: Portland, Houston, Akron, Atlanta, Jacksonville.
Usually criminals hide these details. If they write a book, they use pseudonyms to protect the innocent, or really to protect themselves from lawsuits or cold case squads.
But Edwards names them.
He names them. He names the towns. It feels like he is marking territory. I was here.
Yeah.
I did this to this person.
There's one story that feels like a confession to something that didn't happen, or maybe it did. The Jeanette story in Portland.
This is the most disturbing segment in terms of implication. He stalks a woman named Jeanette and her son. He follows them around Portland. And he writes explicitly that he was torn with mixed feelings about killing her.
He's debating it in his head, like he's trying to decide what to have for lunch. Should I kill her today or should I let her go?
And he decides not to kill her that day. But he thinks about returning to maul her face enough so that people would throw her peanuts if she happened to be at a zoo.
That is such specific, hateful imagery. Throw her peanuts. It's dehumanizing.
It is sadistic. But here is the tease. Later in the book, he mentions being questioned by the police about the Portland Lovers Lane murder. A couple was killed. He was a suspect.
And he says he was exonerated, right? By a hair test or something?
He says he was exonerated by a hair test, pelvic hair comparison. But think about the construction of the book. He writes a chapter where he admits to stalking a woman in Portland with the intent to kill her. Then he writes a chapter about being questioned for a murder in Portland that happened around the same time.
He's placing himself adjacent to the crime.
It's like he's saying, I didn't do that one, but look how close I came. Or he's saying, I got away with it, and here I am rubbing your nose in it by talking about the intent without confessing to the act. It is a taunt. He is getting off on the fact that he knows the truth and we don't.
And he does this with aliases, too. He talks about robbing a bank in Akron using the name Joe Dupuy.
And Joe Dupuy was his uncle.
The uncle he hated.
Right, he says the uncle was cruel to him as a child. So decades later, when he robs a bank, he uses the uncle's name. Why? He says explicitly, I looked forward to the embarrassment my aunt and uncle would suffer being questioned.
So it's not just about the money. He's willing to risk getting caught just to get this petty revenge on his family?
He creates a pattern. He leaves breadcrumbs. He wants to be known. He mentions tearing down his own wanted posters, but he also mentions sending photos of himself to the FBI.
Wait, he sent photos of himself to the FBI while he was on the run?
Yes, he wants the fame. He calls himself Ed Edwards, master criminal, multiple times in the text. This isn't a man hiding in the shadows. This is a man who wants credit for his work. He wants the FBI to look at his picture and know he beat them.
That feels very Zodiac, you know, the letters to the press, the taunting, the ciphers.
It's a similar psychological profile, the narcissism, the need to prove superior intelligence over the police. The naming in the book serves his ego. He wants the world to know exactly where he was and who he dominated. He is building his legacy, one horrific anecdote at a time.
So he gets caught. Eventually, the law catches up. He ends up in prison, Leavenworth, Lewisburg, and we get to Section 5, the prison society, and the false reformation.
His description of prison is designed to make him look sane by comparison. He describes the other inmates as monsters.
There's the guy who killed a child for crying.
The guy who stabs his pregnant girlfriend with an ice pick.
And Turkey Pete. We have to mention Turkey Pete.
Laughing dryly. A rare moment of dark humor in the text. Turkey Pete was in charge of the turkey farm at the prison. The warden told him to treat the turkeys like they were his own. So Pete did.
Which means?
It implies a level of, let's just say, uncomfortable intimacy with the livestock. But Edwards tells these stories for a reason. He's saying, look at these freaks, look at these deviants. I'm not like them. I'm just a clever con man who made some bad choices.
But there's one inmate who stands out. The guy who swallowed the evidence.
The man who killed a deputy and swallowed the bullets. He believed anyone he killed would be his slave in the afterlife. Edwards calls him demented. But again, Edwards is normalizing his own behavior by pointing at the crazy guy in the next cell. He uses them as props to elevate his own status.
But the book includes something that works against Edwards, the publishers afterward. They include a psychological profile from when he was younger.
This is a massive slip-up on his part. Or perhaps he was just too arrogant to realize what it revealed. The profile describes a facade of intellectuality.
Facade of intellectuality? That nails it. He uses big words, he quotes philosophy, but it's all surface. There's no depth.
It says he has shallow, impoverished thinking and sexual disturbance and psychopathic elements. But the most damning part comes from a thematic apperception test, where you tell a story about a picture. The report says, punishment causes the persons to be sorry they committed murder.
Let me make sure I understand that. What does that mean exactly?
It means they aren't sorry for the victim. They don't feel empathy for the person they hurt. They are sorry for the punishment. They regret the consequences to themselves, not the pain they caused others.
And that's exactly what he shows throughout the whole book.
It's a perfect diagnosis of his entire mindset.
And yet the book claims he changed. The Metamorphosis. He meets a parole officer, Mr. Alexander. He starts reading books on carpentry. And suddenly, he's a new man.
That is the narrative. He claims he had a flash of insight. He realized he was a worthless punk. He stops the criminal behavior. He becomes a model citizen.
And he becomes a motivational speaker.
That is the final con. It's his masterpiece. He starts speaking to Rotary clubs, schools, police academies. He markets himself as the reformed criminal who can save the youth.
It's the Dr. Love con all over again. He just swapped the psychiatrist's coat for a suit and tie. He craves the applause. He needs the stage.
Exactly. He isn't doing it to help people. He's doing it because people clap for him. It feeds the same narcissism that the Marine uniform did. It feeds the same need that the FBI Most Wanted list did. Attention is the currency.
There is one part of his reform that really rubbed me the wrong way. He includes a list of safety tips for women at the end of the book. Woman, protect thyself.
It is deeply ironic and deeply disturbing. He lists things like, do not visit bars alone, and don't put miss on your mailbox.
It reads like victim blaming, pure and simple.
It is. But think about who is writing it. This is a man who admitted to beating his wife, threatening to mutilate her, and treating women like objects. And now he is lecturing women on how to avoid men like him.
It's an incredible power trip.
It's a power trip. He is basically saying, I know how to hurt you, so you better listen to me. It's not protection. It's a reminder of his capacity for violence. He is positioning himself as the expert on their vulnerability.
So we get to the end of the book. He's out, he's speaking, he's happy. But as we close this deep dive, we have to look at the big picture. What is this book, really?
It's a trophy case.
A trophy case. I like that.
Yes. He didn't write this to save youth. He wrote it to immortalize his victories. Every story about a con is a story about how he outsmarted someone. Every story about violence is a story about how he dominated someone. Every name he drops is a victim he wants to own forever in print.
And the title, Metamorphosis of a Criminal. It's the biggest lie of all.
The metamorphosis wasn't from bad to good. It was from criminal who gets caught to criminal who operates within the system. He learned that if you write a book and call yourself reformed, society gives you a microphone and a round of applause. That is the ultimate con.
It leaves you with such a sinking feeling because you just keep wondering, if he admitted to the arson, the beatings, the fraud, what did he leave out?
That is the terrifying question. The Jeanette story, the near-miss murder, suggests there are dark impulses he acted on but didn't confess to. He teased us with the intent. Did he follow through on others? The book doesn't answer that. It just leaves the question hanging there.
It makes you wonder if Edward's reformed citizen was just the most successful character he ever played. Better than the Marine. Better than Dr. Love.
I believe it was. And unfortunately, the world bought a ticket to the show.
Well, that is a heavy note to end on, but that is what we do here. We look beneath the surface. Metamorphosis of a Criminal isn't a manual for reform. It's a manual for manipulation.
And a warning to always check the source.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.